Hi, everyone. Welcome to the School Marketing Show Live. My name is Kristen, and as always, I am joined by Mia. If this is your first time with us, welcome. And if you haven't been with us before, here at Finalsite, professional development and education are really a huge piece of our culture. So we use this show as a way to get the latest best practices and trends in front of schools and districts around the world on things like marketing, communications, admissions, advancement, you name it, we cover it. And we use this format really to hear from you. So please feel free to use the comment section to let us know what you're most interested in learning, and we will make sure to put it in the queue for a topic on a later session. So today we're going to be talking about a really important thing just in terms of your website, and that is photography. So how can you really choose the right photography for your website? What makes a good, photo for your website? And really, here at Finalsite, as a web design company, we really spend a lot of time talking about the importance of great design. But what we don't spend a lot of time on is thinking about how photography can actually directly impact the outcome of that design. So in one regard, custom designs beauty can really easily be hindered by a lack of good photography. And I think that's really where the importance of this discussion comes into play, because you can have a really great website design, but if your photography doesn't really match that design's beauty, it can really hinder the overall experience. But then on the other hand, a theme design, so something that's a little less custom, can actually quickly become a really nice, unique, one-of-a-kind piece of work using good photography. So in the next few minutes, we're just going to talk through some key things. First of all, what makes a good photo? So what do you do if you feel like you don't have any good photos? What really makes up that, striking photo that you can use on your website and so on. Number two, some basic technical best practices that you can really put into place to help make those images pop on your website. And third, how to actually choose the photos for your website using the quality and technical guidelines that we're going to share. So we're going to talk about all of that in the next few minutes, and we'll even give a bonus tip. It's something that we've been hearing a lot. So we're going to be answering the question that's really on top of all of your minds right now, and that's, should we post photos of students in masks? Obviously, very top of mind right now if you are on campus and using masks because of the pandemic. So we will be talking about that as well. So if you've been thinking about what you can do to make your school's website pop, I encourage you to stop what you're doing and we'll talk about photography. Now, I will give it over to Mia, who really is a photography guru, and I think she has a lot of good things to say about what really makes a good photo.
Thank you, Kristen, so much. So what makes a good photo? And I think even working in the world of wedding photography and wedding cinematography for years, I still have a very basic definition of what makes a good photo. And unfortunately, it's just, it when you see it. I feel like with good photography, it's like you see something, you're like, wow, like this is so beautiful. Like this made me stop dead in my tracks. If I'm scrolling on social media, it's thumbs stopping good. If I'm on a website, it really makes me stop and engage. It looks really beautiful. It's enticing. It's engaging. Like, wow, I want to be right there with those people. And for bad photography, it's kind of the same. It's like this photo isn't great. Like I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's because it's dark, maybe because it's blurry, maybe because it's pixelated, maybe it's the background's really messy. And it's one of those things too, where I think that even when you look at a bad photo, sometimes as just like even a rookie photographer working with your cell phone, trying to take pictures in hallways or even at home, you kind of like know what you don't want to do, but sometimes it's really easy to just fall victim to some of those standard things that might make a bad photo, like something that's really backlit, or there's a bunch of trash in the background, or wrappers on a desk and things like that. So it is hard. Like what the definition of a good photo, I think, is really hard. And I think as you get photo submissions come across your desk and as you take photos, I think an important thing to do is just do that initial gut check. Just be like, is this good or is this bad? And if it's bad, is there anything I can do in the world of software to make it better? And if not, that's okay too. And we're going to get into a lot of those details a little bit later in today's episode. So while today, I would say families are a little bit more forgiving on quality, especially on social media channels, we want to remember that your website is the absolute center of your school's or district's marketing and communications efforts. So on your website, it's important that you have the best of the best. So it is a place where quality is more important than quantity. I'd rather see 5 really beautiful images rotating through that photo slideshow than have 50 low quality images everywhere across your website. So focus on getting those high quality images on your website and use social media to showcase some of those lesser, not as good quality photos that you might be getting a lot of submissions for. Just remember, not everything has to go on your website. There's a place for everything. And I know, Kristen, we talk a lot about that. So in terms of picking a good photo, I've kind of tried to do my best to outline 6 things that we kind of see across the board as photographers that would define that good photo. So first and foremost, it's bright and it's in color. Across the board, especially on social media, and I know that we're supposed to be talking about your website, black and white photos just get less engagement. I don't know what it is about them. I think black and white photos aesthetically can be really cool and appealing, but unfortunately, they very often just stray very far from a school's brand. And I think they're a lot easier to scroll past and not see all those details in. So anytime you're putting a photo on your website, unless there is some artistic reason relevant to the design, always, always, always opt for color. Make sure it's bright. And even if you can, opt for warmer tones. So usually people are more, people gravitate more towards yellows and golden colors than, like an image that has like a blue tone to it. And I know if your school's color is blue, like there's nothing you can really do, but just keeping that in mind. People just like seeing those warmer tones. It's a little bit easier on the eyes, especially on devices. The second thing we want to do is we want to use photos that coordinate with our school's brand and use that throughout your website. So it's really easy if you are at a private school that has uniforms. That way everyone is kind of always in colors and things that look like your school's brand. But I urge you to kind of think about what you like about, let's say, an Instagram page that you follow. Every image kind of has a similar tone, a similar look and feel, whether it's all neutral tones or maybe it's all orange tones or maybe it's all green tones. But usually across the board, the more cohesive something is, the better that experience is. So do your best to pick photos that, people are wearing shirts that even if they don't have your school or district's logo on them, kind of match your website. Last thing we want to do is have a red website where everyone in the picture is wearing green. So a couple school districts that do this actually exceptionally well is Tupelo Public Schools and Spring Lake Park Schools. Both of them on their websites. And again, these aren't people who are just like decked out in, clothing that has the logos and the mascots. They just did a really, really good job coordinating the pictures that they chose with their website design. So it kind of just felt like one cohesive thing. It didn't look like this was clearly the photo in the photo slideshow. It all kind of blended together. Number 3, we want to make sure it's carefully cropped so that nothing important is missing and that there's really no awkward cropping. Usually what's going to happen is if you upload a photo just the way it is to any portion of your website, it's going to automatically crop, and none of those software are smart enough to know where to crop it. So that's where you end up getting headers that are just people's knees and feet, headers where your head of school is like just showing his neck and shoulders. So we want to take the effort to go through and crop that ourselves so it looks very intentional. Which kind of goes into number 4 here, which is making sure that picture shows faces and is a clear expression of your school's unique differentiators and values. Number 5 is ensuring that image is not pixelated, stretched, or skewed in any way. We'll see this a lot if you upload a vertical photo instead of a horizontal photo for one of those hero sliders, just making sure that the image itself looks as if, looks as good as its original format. And then of course, this last one, number 6, is something that definitely drives, I think, me a little bit crazy when I go to a website. I know I can speak for our designers when we go to a website and all of a sudden, instead of having images, they're just these giant graphics with like large text. The text doesn't match the text on the website. The colors on the graphic don't match the graphics on the website. There is no need ever, 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 ever to swap an image that is intended to be a photo with some graphic that has paragraphs of text or lots of text, off-brand images. If it is so important that you navigate someone towards a important announcement or alert, we want to do is we want to create a page pop, or we want to create a news story for that. We never want to use our homepage hero slider to be a place where we're putting graphics that we made. It's really a place to showcase your community. So what makes a good photo? Well, I guess it's actually a photo and it's not a graphic element. I see that a lot, especially on websites right now because of COVID. We're kind of using those hero sliders as a place to put announcements. There's a lot of different ways that we can use that. And especially in a time where we're seeing increased competition between homeschooling and charters and public and private schools, we want to make sure that we're using good quality photos, not graphics that we need to make announcements in this area that's intended to showcase our school. That being said, I think those last couple of points, Kristen, I covered kind of goes into some of those technical practices that can certainly help ensure that when you're uploading a photo or adding a photo to your website, that it isn't going to be pixelated, it isn't going to be blurry, and that, you know, it definitely doesn't contain some of those inaccessible graphic elements as well. So I'm going to let you dive into some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, like you were saying, Mia, just you can have the beautiful photo that follows all the best practices that you just said, and maybe you use it on your homepage, you want to use it somewhere else, you pop it into your website and you realize it's just everyone's foreheads because it doesn't automatically adapt. So there's so many technical best practices that are important for us to talk about so that you can use those beautiful photos that you just mentioned, Mita, and be able to actually incorporate them into the different areas of your website. So first and foremost, definitely follow your style guide. If you are a school or district working with Finalsite, your designer or project manager will provide you with the recommended sizes for every area of your website. So make sure you follow these. It will really help avoid those weird circumstances where maybe you want to use an image in two places, but if you use it one place and somewhere else, you only see foreheads or knees. Make sure that it's actually following the size requirements for that area of the website. So make sure you follow that style guide. You can use tools like Canva or Photoshop to just make sure that you can maybe collect all of these photos in different sizes in a folder so that you have them ready to go and can upload them to the various areas of your website. Number two kind of goes hand in hand with this. So make sure you're optimizing them for sure. If your style guide only calls for an image that's maybe say 14 pixels wide, don't upload an image that's 5 times that. Make sure that you're following the actual pixel requirements that are outlined in your style guide. And it may take you a few extra seconds to resize the image. I totally get that. But when your site is bogged down with numerous oversized images, really site speed will lag here. And that's something that you definitely want to avoid, especially, Google, any really search engine, make sure that your site speed matches the recommended minimum or maximum, I should say, of how long it takes for a page to load. So if you have a lot of those oversized images, it really can bog down your site speed, which then affects your SEO, it affects your user experience and so on. So taking those few extra seconds just to resize your image will really help you in the long run. Be sure you're uploading photos as JPEGs and not PNGs for a similar reason, just to help with your overall, site speed and everything. You can use compression software to get the image down to its smallest possible file size, which really will help you. If you use Finalsite resources, your images will go through an extra layer of optimizations as they automatically resize for the device it's loaded on. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Number three, as a general rule, use photos that are at least 72 DPI and 1400 pixels wide. Anything smaller than this will look a little blurry and pixelated, and it will end up not following one of those best practices that Mia just laid out. So make sure that you're keeping it to that requirement just to make sure it has a really high quality on your website. Number four, if you're using hero slideshows, opt for horizontal or landscape photos rather than those portrait or vertical photos. If you have a lot of vertical photos, you can think about how those can be used more on interior sections of your website. Really on that hero section of your website, you want it to be that really nice widescreen, high quality image so that it really catches the eye. And on that note, for number five, on photo slideshows, put your best photos first. So you can really capture the attention of your visitors. You only have a few seconds when someone lands on your webpage. So making sure that number one photo that you want to make sure is seen is that first photo can really guarantee it being seen when someone maybe only has like 2 seconds before they start scrolling. So keep that in mind. Number six, create photo guidelines to help vet photo submissions. So as parents, students, teachers, so on, if they're sending you submissions and if you don't post them, you have the ability to say, these don't meet our guidelines outlined here. So if you already have that ahead of time, it can really help you avoid a little bit of awkwardness, a little bit of tension. If you do have a lot of anxious, families sending in photos, you can have those guidelines set for you so that you can say it actually needs to meet these requirements for us to upload it to our website. And then last but not least, one of my favorite things, and I think it's one of the most often forgotten pieces of adding photos to your website, is alt text. So make sure when you are uploading a photo, really any software not requires it, but has it as an option. And if you do use Finalsite, this is definitely a section when you're uploading photos to resources, but make sure that you have alt tags in there. And it's really just as simple as having a quick sentence that explains what's in the photo. Now, what that does for you is helps with anyone who may have, any sort of disability who's using a screen reader. They can, tap through the page, they can actually understand what's included in the photo, which will really help you with accessibility. So that's super important. And then secondary, having that alt text in there will help you with your overall SEO. So if you have some students working in the photo, you can just say students at school name working on a project or something like that. That'll really help get your school name in there. It'll help if someone searches your school, that photo may end up in Google Images. So really overall, alt text is your best friend here. So again, it's one of those things that may take a few extra seconds, but if you're doing it while you're uploading, it's covered. You can make sure that anyone is able to access that photo and that you can really help with your SEO. So those are just a few of the technical aspects. And if you weren't taking notes, that's totally fine. We will link over to a blog that will outline all of this as well. But I think most importantly, when we are going through this entire process, it's how do we actually go ahead now and choose what photos we should use on our website. So I'll give it back to Mia.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. So I know like across the board, there is just a laundry list of considerations here. And I feel like everyone who's sitting here is like, oh my gosh, I already have so much on my plate. We already have limited resources. Why does so much thought have to go into choosing photos? And I think, Kristen, you said it best, where like we only have a couple of seconds on our website. I think, for a few years now, we've been saying that the average, millennial attention span is shorter than that of a goldfish. And then you only have, 7 seconds or less to make that first impression. So choosing those photos, especially for those hero slideshows located at the top of your website, is so, so key. And of course, choosing photos to also have throughout your website is key. I also see that as a major pitfall very often, is we spend so much time and effort on putting all this amazing photography on the homepage that by the time we get to some of those interior pages that actually get more traffic and more time spent on them, there's no pictures because there's nothing left. So when we're choosing pictures for our website, there really is just 4 things to keep in mind here. So first is the content. And I don't want to go against everything I said already at the beginning of this episode when choosing good photos. But I do want to say, in the case of photography, the content is more important than the quality. So if you have an amazing picture that a mom submitted of her daughter at her at-home workspace, learning and engaging with a teacher, and you feel like that picture really represents what virtual learning is like at your school, but it's a little dark, that's okay. We're going to talk about some ways that you can improve that. So I do want to encourage you that across the board, content is always more important than quality. So when you're looking at a photo, you want to ask yourself a few questions. Does this photo represent what's unique about our school? Is it timely? The photos of your campus, for example, should represent the season. The sports photos should also, in a way, be representative of the season. We never want to see, in the middle of summer, a picture of a campus in winter. And then for those schools that are lucky enough to be in New England, using fall as a way to showcase the beauty of your campus at this time of year. Another area where we want to, of course, be cognizant of is being timely in the era of COVID-19. So making sure that, if we have photos on our website where people aren't practicing social distancing or wearing masks, being able to give some type of description of that. And then, of course, if there are pictures of students in mask or practicing social distancing, we, of course, know that that is a timely photo. So we just want to make sure that the content that we choose to express through our photography is representative of the times in one way, shape, or form, because when people see that, they're like, oh, okay, like this is new, this is modern, this is fresh. I don't feel like I'm looking at the same thing over and over. That being said, I think, it was a while ago, like we recommended that schools update the pictures on their website, I think maybe 2 times a year. And I still think that stands still when we think about updating content at the beginning of that enrollment season and as we come to the end of the enrollment season. And of course, if you can make updates in between those times, that's great, but still kind of keeping to that biannual consistency here on updating those pictures. So that someone at the beginning of the enrollment process might see something different than someone at the end of that enrollment process in the spring. Of course, we want to ask, does this photo help elevate the diversity of our campus community? So if we have something that showcases a unique program or individuals on our campus, we want to make sure that that's taken into consideration more than the quality. And then of course, is it original? I never, ever, 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 ever want to see a stock photo on a school website, ever. I think that schools, what makes your school special are the people and the places, whether that's a physical campus or how learning's happening at home. So there's no reason to pull stock photography into your website by any means. So aside from content, of course, comes down to that great quality debate. So even if the quality is great, I don't want that to mean it's an instant yes, right? Like I never want to see just like a really high res, beautiful photo of like 4 people with their arms around each other, smiling and standing still. Like I would much rather have the cell phone version of that photo where there's 4 students laughing and enjoying an authentic, good time. So just because it's good quality doesn't mean it should go onto your website. And again, Kristen, using some of those guidelines that you mentioned earlier can really help avoid some awkward discussions between staff, between faculty, or even between you and some parents. And then third, again, does this photo meet the photo guidelines set? And fourth, just stop overthinking everything. I think kind of going back to that gut check, and of course, like, yes, I worked in photography for many years. I still do some photography on the side. There's still just that gut check of like, does this photo just look good? Does it belong on our website? And if your gut is telling you no, it's okay to not upload it. Like I'd rather see you use an older photo that's better representative of your school's community and culture than just get something new up there because you feel like there has to be something new there. So don't overthink it. Do that gut check. Is this photo good? Is this photo bad? Is it blurry? Are there a bunch of crumbled Doritos bags in the background? Like, yeah, like, so don't worry about it. And then of course, in terms of that great quality versus content debate, I urge you to download an app like Adobe Lightroom or Afterlight or VSCO Cam and play around with that editing software. It's very, very, very easy to use. And sometimes just increasing the brightness or editing the contrast or editing the highlights and shadows, like sometimes just some minor adjustments can really make like a dark, blurry photo all of a sudden seem really great. So I encourage you to download some of those apps on your phone, give them a whirl, maybe take some of those pictures that you don't think are super great quality and play around with them and see if there's a way that you can improve them. Because there is a lot that you can do there as well. So in the realm of content, I know, Kristen, we promised we have this little extra bonus tip because it wasn't necessarily worthy of its own episode, but we're getting a lot of questions around it as well. And it's that, what do we do about masks and social distancing? This doesn't feel like it's our school culture and community, and it's not necessarily what we want to be showcasing, but is it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, this topic goes hand in hand with what you just said, Mia. I think my first recommendation and our first recommendation, we were just talking about it a little bit before the show, is to also stop overthinking it. I think, I mean, when we're thinking about, you're on campus, you're off campus, you're hybrid, but you still want to get really nice photos of your students this year. Of course, they're going to be in masks, they're going to be socially distanced, but how do you decide, if that has a place on your website? I think just in terms of our own 2 cents here at Finalsite, I think that those photos of students in masks are still super valuable. I think even though you are thinking about maybe if you are an independent or international school, you're thinking about enrolling for the next year, please remember that parents are still wanting to see how you're innovative, how you're adapting to the times right now. We are in this pandemic. I mean, we are all aware of it. So if they're able to see how you're adapting on your website, that's one of the best things you can do for yourselves on your website. So include those photos with masks. I've actually seen on social media lots of schools that are doing a really great job of posting students in their masks, showing school spirit even in masks, decorating their own masks, things like that. There are still ways to really show the really great personality of your students, even if it feels that their faces and smiles are being hidden. You can still definitely see that come through in photos of them showing school spirit and things like that. I'm sure you're still seeing that on your campus if you are on campus right now, that students are trying to make the best of it, trying to have fun, things like that. So showcasing it is totally fine. As long as you're following all of the guidelines that Mia and I have shared with you today, I think that there is a place for that on your website, just as families are visiting and, checking out who you are. Now, I would say, if you are wondering, is it okay now on the flip side of this to have photos on our website that don't show socially distancing or masks? I mean, of course, you've had probably beautiful photography over the years done that don't really match exactly what life on campus is like right now. I think that's still okay. Maybe just think about how captions can help clarify maybe what's going on. So if you still want to use, say, an athletics photo, or maybe from a school play that happened in the past, or any other non-socially distanced things, having a quick caption there that's just like, here's a quick grab from our 2018 play. Our art students are still continuously working together to make the most of this time, to stay creative. Something like that. Just adding a quick caption can really help you out if you want to continue using those photos that maybe don't represent what life on campus is like right now. So that's our quick bonus tip. I think that's something we've heard a lot recently, obviously a big concern right now. I will just give it back over to Mia to talk about, some exciting things that are happening, our next topic for our next show.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. All right. So I guess finally, and I just posted the link in the comments below, School Marketing Day is October 29th. We seriously have the most amazing, epic lineup of sessions and speakers. So much planning has gone into this agenda. And I think the most special part about planning this agenda is we keep asking ourselves, what is going to be on your mind on October 29th? So we're really trying to think at the end of October, aside from is Halloween happening and what's going on with the election, where is your mind going to be? And I think the strategies that we're sharing and the sessions we have lined up are really going to allow you to hit the ground running through the end of 2020 and thank goodness moving into 2021. So we're really excited for School Marketing Day. I feel like these aren't just like the standard best practices where it's like, make sure you have an Instagram and make sure you have a Facebook and do that. It's like, we're really, really working hard to give you brand new ideas, brand new content to make this your best virtual day ever. And as a reminder, School Marketing Day is totally free. So you get all this amazing content. Join us. It's a 15-hour day. You don't need to come for the whole day, but you are more than welcome. I've definitely spent more than 15 hours watching one show all at once. It was not professional development. So do what you need. It's kind of like Finalsite and chill for the whole day. It's going to be awesome. Kristen has an amazing session. I'm going to have a session. We have Leslie Bruinton from Ensbra, Americus Reed. I just spoke to Mike Connor on Friday from Michael Connor and Associates. We have Emily Cretella. There's such an amazing lineup of speakers, and we're releasing the agenda this week, the week of October 5th. So we're super excited to get that out there into the world. So that being said, School Marketing Day is still a ways away. So what is happening next week on the School Marketing Show? We actually got a question via Twitter, and it was after last week's episode on how to get more people to open your emails. And the question was more around, okay, well, getting people to open my emails isn't the issue. It's getting people to engage with the content. So we're going to go through what actually makes content in your email clickable. And Kristen, I think that hamburger analogy is going to be making a comeback in next week's episode.
I feel that it's coming. If you're curious what we're talking about, join us next week.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a good week.
Thank you.